Greetings and welcome, everyone. We're here today at THOME Rivertown Senior Apartments. It's on the east side of Detroit, right off the riverfront. And I've been doing a lot of work with Jim and Monica. And we just want to welcome you all and to the conference of
World Cities Day.
World Cities Day.
Hi, Stella.
Hello.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you. Okay, and hello everyone here. Just gonna start by, since this is a United Nations event and they are the most trusted institution we have in this very dark time, I just want to take a quick moment of silence for everyone impacted by what's going on. Oh, okay, thank you. Your programming, we'll get into that a little bit more as we dive into the block and talking about the Sustainable Development Goals that are the United Nations. This webinar video conference is about funding the Sustainable Development Goals, 17 of them. Fidaya, would you be able to share with us on 313 Connect? I'm not sure if Fidaya is able to hear or speak right now, but we've been very big champions for greater internet connectivity and dynamic programming in community centers, and her initiative, the Connect 313, is really doing so much right now to connect Detroiters and connect local technology hubs. And she is running one in the Southwest neighborhood. And Jim, do you want to talk about broadband connectivity and how it relates to Sustainable Development Goals?
Probably the most important element is the SDGs in terms of bandwidth and ability to connect to communities and neighborhoods, which Fidaya is the champion, those kinds of efforts. And we're really looking forward to what that represents when we start talking about those neighborhoods connected to communities and communities connected to cities and cities connected to worlds. Post-pandemic wonderment taking place. And we're all aware of how that has impacted not only human beings, but also the way in which we work, the way in which we learn, and the way in which we're going to be continuing to develop those kinds of repositories over the next decade and on into the everlasting future of digital communications. I'm really excited about the elements of artificial intelligence, not from the sense of the answers, but from the sense of the questions that will be asked. I think it's a much broader understanding than the immediacy of the current situation where we find ourselves in more deeply developed element of community and engagement, and the opportunity for youth to participate in the 21st century executions. The educational sector today is well known as somewhat lacking in understanding about how technology is impacted. We'll just take remote working as an example, and how that's going to impact education going forward. So from our efforts, we're really impacting the neighborhood element on behalf of right more makerspace here in Detroit, and they're doing some wonderful things out there. And looking at those opportunities that would resiliently move K-12 education to more dynamic. Well, Monica's just put up the Southwest Greenways, but more ways in which, to the right of Mount Ravin, there is a space that Brightmore builds. We were thinking that that would be the kinds of things that would engage people at the neighborhood side of the elements on behalf of the Southwest Greenway, Joe Luke's Greenway, within 27 miles of integration, imagination, and creativity that is unfolding in Detroit over the next 3 or 4 years. Do we have any additional insights from the audience on what broadband is addressing from their version of their SDG, which is the software? Maybe Capella, do you have any thoughts along the lines of SDGs and technology?
You echoed just a tiny bit. Repeat that question, please.
Do you have any insights as to how you are entertaining SDGs around technology in your work?
Actually, we were just talking yesterday, Capella, about your developing curriculum currently for University of Michigan, and that's something interesting around virtual learning and how are we're not really experiencing that in K through 12 environments yet. But we know that kids, anytime we ever engage them with technology, they're all over it. They want to tinker, they want to learn, they want to develop and produce and do things like that. And so could you maybe talk about how you work and what you're in the throes of now developing curriculum, and how that project-based learning is an essential skill in the world right now around creativity and curiosity that you're so passionate about on your podcast?
My ideas on this hasn't changed. I think that people have to know that we care about them in order to learn. So before I have any talk, before I teach any class, before I do any coaching session, I've got to make sure that people know that I care about them, that I think that they matter, that I trust them, that I am out for the best interest. And then I think once an instructor or anyone can introduce these ideas and make people feel like they matter, then learning can commence. And I especially love, obviously the STEAM work that you guys are doing, and the work around curiosity. As you know, Monica, pretty much my whole life with my father has been fighting the current system and the injustice and the inequities that exist. Pardon?
No, go ahead. Sorry, was this background?
Yeah. No, and my father was an extremely empathetic, compassionate man who could connect with anyone, and it was because of those skills. So, to answer your question, this idea of digital learning, and I mean, any learning I think can occur best when you know that the person is really there for you. And that's mostly what I can say. And I find it so interesting that leaders or CEOs or teachers or professors or deans, they can do everything they need to do to climb to the tippy top of their game, but they can't climb over the bridge of compassion or empathy or making people feel like they matter and they're cared for.
Wow.
Yeah, well said. The thing I think that most of us are really interested in is the way in which we go about that learning exercise. It's a lot different digitally than it is when you're face to face, because you have to engage the mind as opposed to engage the room. And I'm wondering, how we go about fashioning, some of the elements of engagement from a digital sense, like project-based learning, design thinking, all of those attributes that give digital an advantage. But on the other hand, you have to overcome the fact that you're remote. And what we've discussed and what we've looked at have been the aspects of allowing the student to be the focus of the project and allow them to design their own solution with some guidance. But basically, let it be a product of the student's imagination rather than what we think is right for them. And that's met, I think, with significant excitement on behalf of the other people that we worked with in the past. And I think remote learning, we were doing remote learning before remote learning, but I think young people have resonated with that process to the point where we're thinking a platform way of going about making it available to them that would be run by them, for them, with them. Do you have any thoughts along those lines as a producer and director and developer?
So just to make sure I understand the question, I'm sorry, there's a tiny bit of echo. I can hear Monica a tiny bit better. Monica, can you just restate that last part of the question?
When we're thinking about project-based learning as a producer, how might we transfer those skills of carrying into the classroom where we know that it's not happening right now. It's all stick and get, and it's deeply inhuman. What do you think about that as a field that's opening as a new market opportunity? That this entire thing needs to be reinvented, and the skills that you facilitate on set with people, that's real learning. So what do you think about that as a producer?
I suspect that the film industry isn't much different than other industries. I've heard similar stories from the financial industry, from education, definitely from medicine, this sort of idea of winner takes all, zero-sum game. And there's a saying, I'm going to spend the next 10 years to nudge culture, right? Because culture takes a long time to nudge. But I do work to change climates on sets. And I do that starting just with training. I mean, you guys probably know the experiment, the Hawthorne effect, by just the mere act of coming in and asking people, how are they doing? That ups their enthusiasm. So usually just the initiation of paying attention to somebody, assessing somebody, learning someone's name. And one thing I teach to some MBA students that I talk to is small talk. And a good way to do conversation is when someone tells you their name, ask them the story behind their name. Like, that's a good way to break any ice. But, there are ways, obviously, that if you're doing live Zoom learning or live Zoom facilitating, that is, those are much easier processes. And there's a lot of little fun things, that you can do to engage your audience and make sure they stay with you for the entire session. The other thing is when it's pre-recorded. So pre-recorded can be a little bit harder, but you could introduce little positive interventions. And we might start the session with a positive intervention of write down the best 3 things that happened to you today. And that, sort of act of gratitude immediately sets off you know, a better attitude for the session. So that's something that you can do if you're not live. You can give them sort of these little interventions in 3 or 5 minutes to do them. And that is shown in research over and over again to have a considerably positive affect over the control group, which they would just be told to write down 3 things that you did today, opposed to 3 great things that happened to you today, or 3 great things your coworkers or classmates did to you. So like there are small exercises that, you know, people can do even over recorded sessions when you don't get the opportunity to have that sort of face-to-face. And now I'm saying Zoom is face-to-face too. But on set, to answer your question further, on set, we start with training. We start with we talk empathy training, leadership training. We listen to people's stories. We assess them with DISC and emotional intelligence. And also another one is, and it's free, it's called Values in Action, or VIA. And you can find it on, it's the VIA Institute, VIA Characteristics, I think, .org or something like that. But it's a great test that was, and it was started by Marty Seligman and Chris Peterson for the 24 character strengths that are valued over space and time. So if you go to a tiny village in India in 1880, it'd be valued. You come here in 2023 and, you know, LA would be valued. So there's 24 and they rank them, and your top 5 are your signature strengths. And they are very true, and they help you understand why you are, or who you are and why you do what you do, for sure.
So
Wow.
storytelling is at the, you know, the baseline of engagement.
Well said. Yes.
And bringing that forward, I think is an important element. How do you advertise or monetize the various elements of your programming? And are you doing that on a universal basis? Because I know you're doing work as well, and it all can't be geared towards education. So how do you find yourself shifting between those positions?
My significant other would love how you think. Yes, this is a great question. What were you going to say, Monica?
I was gonna say that yesterday we were talking about how you had a lot of development work going right now. Thought that was connected.
Yes. Gosh. Well, the first thing I'm doing, so to answer your question, obviously I monetize being a film producer. I have my own projects. I do commercials and features. And then I'm also brought on to other people's sets. I say I'm 2 personas, which is appropriate because I'm a Gemini. I have the production whisperer, which is a more preventative persona. When people bring me on from the very beginning and I'm able to do the appropriate training, assessments, facilitation, from starting from the top, the executive producers and the studio execs, and then once the HODs, the head of departments, are hired, I do them, same thing, assessments, training, and facilitating. And then when the crew and the actors start to be ignited, I do the same thing with them. So if I can be part of the project from the beginning, I can avoid a lot of problems. And I call that the production whisperer. Now, if I'm ever brought on set, or when I'm brought on set in the middle of a project that's in crisis, the director's about to walk, the studio is going to pull funding, the lead actors are at odds, then that's the production wolf. And I say I come in there, you give me 48 hours and I can get everything back on track. I don't know if I'll get everyone loving each other, but I can absolutely get everybody working collectively together to get the film to the finish line. And that's a production wolf. So, I charge for those, consulting and coaching or facilitating and all that. So that's how I monetize it. But you do, probably much like a lawyer, often just get asked to do a lot of stuff. It's just a question, or how would you do this, or how would you handle that, or can you talk to this person? And I often do that for free. And yeah, I get some pushback from, like I said, this significant person in my life that I give away too much for free.
There you go. It's all about engagement, and sometimes you have to move the needle for someone to recognize the value that
Mhm.
we're all.
And you know, you love it. You love it. You want to see people succeed. And you want to see people do it. It doesn't have to be so painful. You know, this is people enter this career usually for meaning. They love it. You know, but they stay for mattering, and I think that, you know, that's important. And same thing with medicine. Same thing. I suspect with a lot of organizations, you come in because it's important to you. You want that purpose. And you want to be a part of something bigger, but then you end up staying because you feel like you matter. You add value. You are valued. Yeah. So that's really the work that I do to make sure people feel like they matter.
The creator's dilemma. We love it.
Mm.
Cynthia, we should probably talk this forever.
Well, I'm just going to point out that she's put your sticky over here next to Gen Z, message of climate change, which is a whole new realm of investigation and imagination created there.
Mm.
I'm sure you're looking about those things as well as we do traditional filming, and the way in which we find ourselves in various locations now that are changed dramatically, or we're in a different location because it's top of the line movies, which is another way of seeing the opportunities that creators can have in an unfolding universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's oh, Chico's here.
So who else do we have in the house?
So I promised you wouldn't be first, Capella, but you just ended up being first.
Well, I wanted to say one thing, if you don't mind, quickly about Gen Z, because that's a hot spot for me. I adore Gen Z, and a lot of the work that I do is, you know, I couldn't believe this when I heard this, because if you would have asked me that how many generations are in the workforce right now, I would say 3, but it's actually 5 that are still in the workforce, and bridging that gap between Gen Z and, I was going to say, the older Gen Xers, but let's not, you know, the boomers and the traditionalists are still in. And so that is a large leap for what the Gen Zers expect. And yeah, their expectations for work-life balance is a lot different than the later Gen Xers and the boomers, for sure. So I adore the Gen Zers. I think they're going to change the world for the better. And I love working with them. I work with them all day long.
I love it. Yeah, I feel that too. Okay, so we're gonna shift real quick. I see Bonnie's on. Bonnie, do you feel like talking? Where's she at? Oh, I don't think she's here anymore. She said she could only be in for a minute, so maybe she'll come back and join us. We're gonna talk about Parking Day and UNESCO City of Design, or should we just keep rolling? We've got Robert Bass on as well.
Oh, Robert's here. Let's
And we could just jump right into the Flint block, because I think that's, and we've got Chico as well. Hi, Chico. And let's just do the Flint right now, because that's so important. And Robert Bass is here and Robert is the president of the Citizen District Council in Pontiac. And we've been really interested in how do we, because the commonality between Detroit, Pontiac, and Flint is, undergoing emergency management and the fallout from that, and water is one of the main sustainable development goals, clean water and sanitation. I won't talk about what's happening in Gaza and things like that, which is just breaking my heart. I cannot believe this insanity. However, there's a similarity, maybe not as hardcore or whatever, but in Flint, that was visited on that community here and in Detroit as well with the water shutoffs. Pontiac didn't suffer those kind of injustices because we're the heart of Oakland County, but having assets sold, having democracy and community voice silence, it's definitely something going on there, continuing even after emergency management. So maybe Robert, could you open us up and talk about the role of the Citizen District Council in Pontiac and what challenges you had under emergency management?
Okay. I'll do my best.
Okay. Could you turn on your video, or are you not able right
I'm sorry for my tardiness, but I've been a little sick and I still have a cough. So if I back up or go mute, it's because I have a cough that I can't really control right now after being sick for a while. So, but as far as the emergency manager, we still have quite a bit of problems that exist from having that emergency manager come in because a lot of our assets were sold off and we're still losing the other assets, even though we're in the, I guess, 8th year after the emergency manager. Uh, but uh, with them having to restructure the whole city all over again, it's causing a lot of us problems because we don't agree with some of the changes. Some of the changes may be necessary or may be good, but they're not inclusive of the whole community input as it should be. And I say that only because there's no one really at the table. You can have community forums, you can have town hall meetings, you can have pretty much block club meetings, whatever. Those meetings only last for maybe an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours at best. And if you're making policies and you're saying that you're getting community participation, but you are spending maybe 30 minutes to an hour at a meeting and you're not taking notes and nobody's there is taking notes, then what are you using to gauge how you're making those policies? Because if I ask you how many residents you have at the table to help you have a different opinion of what you're coming up with, you have to tell me none because you don't. And that makes us feel like we're being displaced because we're not really, our voices are not really being heard. But as far as the revamping of the city, I think they're doing a pretty good job in some ways. In other ways, we have those difficulties because my job pretty much consists of as a CDC. As a CDC, our job is to oversee development, redevelopment, economic development. I have approximately eight to nine groups that we deal with, and also we have a partnership with the Housing Commission as well as job workforce development. Workforce development deals with the economic director part. So we deal directly with community residents, elected officials, and city governments. That's pretty much all we do. So that makes us the only operating entity that deals in that direction. Everybody else has either not uh, associations or block clubs or other entities that they deal with directly in the community for streets whatever their needs are in the community, and they have a certain area to deal with. Well, we deal with the whole, not only whole city, we deal with our main district that we derive from, which I derive from District 1. So our location is District 1. That's downtown and most of the southwest part of the city. So we have a large area to cover, but as we emerged from the emergency manager, we had to shift some gears because the emergency manager would not accept the CDCs as being a viable entity to give them advice or recommendations. So they, by verbal uh, uh, expression in Pontiac, they said that the CDCs did not exist. But we are a community, self-governing organization. So I would not let our CDC drop because you can stop us from coming to City Hall or city building, but you cannot disperse our organization unless we so choose. And we chose not to. We just incorporated into our neighborhood association. And we did that up until maybe 3 years ago when I separated during the pandemic. Because if we could not meet, we would ultimately dissolve. So we went virtual to keep us meeting. So, like I said, we have a large job to wish to do because even with all of what I've just told you, we also oversee uh, community block grant funding and the process for that funding. So, right now, after emergency manager, we still have not brought that back in house. And as long as it's outside, then we still don't have any real control over the funds that come in under block grant or federal grants. So, but we can keep an eye on it and make our voices heard because we have that right through uh, being able to go and speak before council, public hearings, as well as community participation. We have all those rights that still afforded to us. But all we can do is ask questions and hope that the administration will give us the answers that we ask for. They won't give us all of them, but they'll give us some and try to satisfy us. But we do what we can to keep an eye on it as best we can.
Well, I think you bring up a very good point right there in that the shift in the focus of governance is now from the downtown to the neighborhoods. And certainly the work that you're doing in the neighborhoods is going to drive a good deal of the intentional dollars and funding that is being sourced from federal government to neighborhood engagement. And you're right in that right position at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, we tried to. We knew it was coming down the pike, so hopefully we stayed prepared for it. But you're never really prepared when you get a body of new people in and there's no one that knows how we got to where we are. So right now we're dealing with a lot of new people, not only in administration, but on the city council. We have a whole body of new folks on the city council that never really participated in the governance until they got elected to the government. So it makes it a little bit harder for somebody like myself because I've been around for so long and a lot of things that I see you doing have been mistakes that we made previously. So I don't discount the fact that they're trying to do the best that they can with what they have to utilize. However, it does pose a problem for somebody such as myself because my main interest is the betterment of the community as a whole. The residents are my major factor, and that's who I deal with most of the time. But I also have to deal with the governance and the administration to make sure that we stay on top of all the land that we have and the uses of that land and the development that they're proposing to bring in. So.
Well, on that note, we're gonna open up a Q&A, and we're gonna shift to focus on Flint right now, and then maybe have some more interaction. Capella, I'm gonna just play a quick 1 minute of this Melissa Mays video, and then maybe you and Chico could give us the background to that and what you covered during the No Town documentary.
Okay, so I'm one of the lead plaintiffs in the class action lawsuits. Nobody's gotten any money. They're still taking forever, dragging their feet. In the Safe Drinking Water Act case to replace all the lead and galvanized steel service lines, that's also my lawsuit. The current mayor has done everything he could to stop it, and the state is allowing him to do so after he beat up the previous mayor, who was an intelligent black woman, so of course that's unacceptable. So, and she wouldn't take anything, so they pushed her out, got him in, and so now we filed a motion to in federal court to have him held accountable, or held in contempt, excuse me. The mayor, the city administration, and everything, to finish the service line program that should have been done in 2020. Also, they're blending our water, which there's no regulations for. They're allowed to do that up to like 2 million gallons per day. So we're fighting to have state and federal laws changed. We're working on changing the lead and copper rule federally, which is a mess because nothing is health protective. Let's see. And then we're doing a lot of education around the funding for the state. I'm just trying to figure out, I was like, also, we're pushing for the ARPA funds to be spent properly.
Yes, we are too. Yes.
They're not doing our water. We're not doing our water.
Nothing is being spent for anything meaningful for the problems we know that we had.
Right. They asked for $6 million for 2 roundabouts in Flint.
Oh my God. That's what they're doing in Pontiac with the demolishing the Phoenix Center, because they're going to build a bunch of roundabouts and make a main street connected, and they have no logic for why they're going to destroy
it.
it.
Don't know how to drive a roundabout anyway.
Right.
And then also we don't have enough people traveling to Flint to do this, but they also tore up the bricks downtown, so it'd be less, the historical bricks. They put the wrong sand down, so they have to tear them all back up again.
Oh my God. They are so dumb.
Right?
Oh my God.
Except every bit of construction is shaking up our water system. They refuse to replace the distribution mains, so all of everything's still poisoned. My water smells like, anybody here remember what a perm smells like back in the day? That's what my shower water smells like.
Oh my God.
And we have bacterial problems. It's more than just lead, so it's crumbling infrastructure across the board, and nobody's funding it. So we've been helping with also the infrastructure bill. We pushed for that, but now we're doing education across the board. So communities know what to expect and what the right way to have the money allocated, but also the process of getting your service line inspected and replaced. So that's some of the stuff. Is it more?
Wow.
Yeah. So. But yeah,
I think you covered it all, and that gives us
you gotta talk to Nair Sharif. So yeah, because I'm operations manager at Flint Rising, Nair's director, and Nair is we're also dealing with climate change, and we're also dealing with the air, because they just put an Ajax asphalt plant in, because we weren't just poisoned with our water and soil, now air, get it? So yeah, they hate Flint. They really just want us to just sink in or just crumble and die. But I think now, I keep waiting for my Toxic Avenger powers. I'm like, let's go. And I'm like, we're too stubborn to die. So, we're just like, nah. So that's some of the stuff we're dealing with, I guess. And then we help Ben Harbor because
Flint Rising.
Yeah, we're angry. And also we're all poison sick and dealing with all this physical everything all the time. Oh yeah, and we don't have healthcare to help with the poisoning and stuff, so. They don't always get better. So that's some of the stuff. Oh, but get this, when they wanted to redo the Black Lives Matter mural on the street, they said, no, you can't do that because the paint can cause accidents and make the road slippery. I'm like, what do you think crosswalks are? What about the hashes and the lines? So I had to go to city council and be like,
oh my God.
well, you better rip all that paint up. I don't want to see lanes. I don't want to see crosswalks. Good luck, everybody. Because I don't want to be driving down on a mural and be like, oh my God. But then I found a study that showed that murals done safely actually lower accidents because people drive with more respect and they're looking at what's going on as long as we're not across crosswalks. So I brought that up and the lady was just like, oh, I'm like, there's so many kids.
Okay, so I'm gonna just play this. So either Capella or Chico, if you want to jump in and help us understand the background as she's launching this citizen action lawsuit. Chico, you want to go first?
Oh, okay, I was deferring to Capella, but I'll jump in. So, No Town is a documentary film that began with exploration into Detroit's water crisis. It quickly evolved into an understanding of how emergency management played a role in the shutoffs that were happening in Detroit and how those shutoffs were directly connected to the Flint water crisis and their emergency management decision to switch water supplies. And what we saw was essentially both efforts cumulatively added up to a coordinated effort to establish legal precedent for dictatorship on US soil. I mean, at the end of the day, that's essentially what we got from it. And the film follows several families and Reverend Pinkney, among other characters, as they fought to try to overturn the legal decisions that were being forced upon the communities and that precedent that was established.
There's a book that I've been wanting to read called Laboratories of Autocracy, and it focuses on that very thing, the democratic just overturning that these little, they don't think people are watching in these little areas, yeah, but they're formulating a strategy for what you said, dictatorship, yeah, on American soil. That's powerful words.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, and you see it in right-wing politics. It plays out across the country in smaller communities with little legislative victories that all add up to major changes and shifts in who we are as a country.
So do you think the world is forcing the situation to become, deeper structured from a neighborhood perspective as opposed to, let's say, the governance?
Well, I think that what we have is struggling duality. There's this notion of society being the Serengeti, where it's just feast or famine, every person for themselves, or a notion that as higher beings, we can collectively organize and provide an agreed upon safety net for all mankind. And those two forces are just locked in this power struggle. And the pendulum swings, it seems, from left to right, from left to right.
So having said that, I think that, brings focus to what we're doing today from the SGB side of things, and certainly from the sense of how the impending future that we're facing, particularly with regards to things like climate change and so forth, are actually going to be a decision made by the general population as opposed to its particular persuasion governance wise.
Yeah.
So there's some hope there. I think what's really amazing is that the UN is recognizing that they don't have the whole story. and they're actively soliciting the information to begin to attempt to retell the larger picture. And it appears as though the things that you just spoke to are there are at least 3 or 4 of those in the 17 SDGs,
Mm-hmm.
which adds a good deal of strength to the conversation. You know, it would be my hope that we could take what we have here and the elements that have been described, films and so forth, and constitute a real story that we could submit on behalf of maybe consortium of Flint, Pontiac, and Detroit.
Yeah, we're really interested in how the United Nations is launching this. It's a $500 billion fund to fund the Sustainable Development Goals, and they understand that local governments can't really be trusted to do these things. As Melissa was pointing out, none of the ARPA funds are going to any of these goals. And Flint, and in the most extreme example that we have had, I mean, prior to what's going on right now, but the fact that nothing's going toward solving those problems is just shocking. And the same, I know from observing Pontiac, and Robert can speak to it better than I, but it's not happening there either. So thinking about education, we were talking with Capella and how do we engage kids maybe in being these like investigative units. They're plugged in, they're knowledgeable. If we have a critical thinking and a more free curriculum and pedagogy for kids, the kind of media they could produce in helping communities, just as we were talking over here, the UN, back to talking about media, because I know that's or you do best. We've got education just totally bankrupt, not able to perform, just going backwards. They adopted technology during the pandemic, but they tried to deliver the same curriculum and nobody showed up. And so we've got that kind of, that's a well understood proposition now. And then we have UNICEF just did a study about how deeply disengaged young people are in the media ecosystem we have today, and its lack of capacity to cover both climate change reality on the ground and action that could be taken, that they can gear themselves, that they can prepare themselves to participate in helping solve. So wondering what your thoughts are about that. Like, is that something that this fund, the UN fund, should cover? Is that something, did you work with kids and at all in your coverage of Flint, and do you see that they were engaged, and any other thoughts about that?
I'm sorry, I couldn't make out. Was that for us?
It's for you or Capella in media production for solving climate change and water issues, community issues in general.
Okay. Well, I think from a broad perspective, like I think of media, visual storytelling as the evolution of telling stories around a campfire. You know, if you think about the growth of humanity, right? From the very beginning, you had the need to convey stories that matter. You know, people needed to know what fruits were safe to eat, what animals to stay away from. And those stories were typically, before they were written, shared around the campfire. And all of the connotations and tools that are used to communicate those stories have evolved into what we know today as visual storytelling. And I think the problem when it comes to conveying those important notions to society comes from who has ownership of the ability to tell those stories. Now, typically it's been large media organizations, which have all been over the past 50 years consolidated into media conglomerates, and they own the stories, and their politics swing from left to right. However, it's still a notion of controlling the mass population with narrative. And so it doesn't matter if they're Democrat or Republicans in their ownership of the messaging. At the end of the day, the messaging is the same. I mean, if you take, for example, how the Flint water crisis was handled, at the end of the day, you had both Republican representatives and Barack Obama's administration going there, drinking water on camera, saying that the situation is resolved and everything's fine. And the reality is, it's not fine. What it would take to be fine is a tremendous investment in infrastructure that no one thus far has been willing to make. And with the democratization of the ability to tell stories, I mean, now your cell phone is small enough to capture beautiful images. So a high school student in their house can make compelling media and then share it through social media distribution channels and reach millions. And so now we have the ability to sort of counterbalance the monopoly that I think the media has been under. And so I take passion in using my skill set to try to create media that can convey those notions, that other side of the argument, that other perspective. But it's daunting because, if you look at No Town as an example, it's a film that we began in, I'd say, 2015, around about the time that actually a UN special envoy came to Detroit to investigate allegations of human rights violations, and in fact found that the United States was guilty of human rights violations. And, it didn't really resonate. I don't think it made it beyond Michigan. We talk about human rights violations in China or in North Korea, but yet we ourselves as Americans are charged with equally powerful allegations. So, I'm hopeful in that media and access to technology and the will of the next generation can perhaps affect change, but it's challenging to make media that reaches people at the same time, especially something like this film, because it requires investment, financial investment. And that means getting organizations, other people, nonprofits behind the notion of helping you to tell those stories.
Wow.
Well, part of that narrative as well is the tone deafness out there in the current governance. we're witnessing that nationally. We're witnessing.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, I think, I don't know if it's a direct result of the Trump administration, but I feel that I personally became most aware of it after, in the post-Trump world. You know, his administration's ability to be callous and to be blatantly obstructive and to just put their views out there in the public sphere in a manner that, you know, it's like they are speaking out loud the quiet thoughts. And that's become acceptable now. You know, we see many post-Trump Republicans sort of taking that same sort of stance in communication. And, you know, I recall very vividly when Trump won the presidency, it felt like a punch to the chest for the film, because at the time we shot quite a bit of footage, but we were still sort of circling around trying to define what the ending of the film looked like. And for me, before Trump, I felt hopeful. I felt that, you know, it was possible that we could fix what's happened in Flint and address the needs of the people of Detroit. But in a post-Trump world, it just felt like one of the tools in the arsenal that we were betting on was the notion of shame. You know, politicians would push things to the limit that shame would allow, public shame. But Trump seemed to obliterate that line. And now I don't know where it is. You know, how far will anyone go? And finding a sense of closure or resolution has proven difficult.
Wow. Oh my gosh. We can go off on that thought, hold that thought. Capella has to leave. Could you would you like to take the floor before you leave?
I'm sorry, I feel like I monopolized our time.
No,
No.
You advance the
No.
conversation
Yeah.
deeply.
Fantastic, Chico. Thank you for that. I mean, yeah, I always thought, you know, Chico is our director, cinematographer, and editor, and you can see why he's always had such clear vision and spent a lot of time with my father. So they always, between the two of them, had a very clear vision of what this film was. And I'm glad you brought up that last point, Chico, because the film did change before, you know, pre and post Trump. It also evolved, I will say quickly, that it evolved almost into three stories. And the one story was the Flint story and the inequities there. And the other story was Reverend Pinckney, who was a man, he was a reverend, an activist that got convicted and actually sent to jail to do hard time for voter fraud. But the fraud consisted of a petition having someone's name twice. And although he did cross off the name on the second petition, he didn't thoroughly cross off the address. And so that got him, I want to say like 8 years in hard time. And they put him in solitary confinement because they felt like he was an activist and he was at risk of organizing the prisoners for some sort of revolt. But he did get out. He didn't do the full 8 years, luckily. So it's one third Flint, one third Reverend Pinckney in Benton Harbor, Michigan, and one third a story about a woman that experienced losing her home. That was a family home in a very nice area of Detroit that was paid off, but she lost it in a tax sale. And so it follows her story too. So it and all of these they're almost modular. They could be, you know, told as individual stories, or they could be told as a whole film. But it really kind of helicopters into three areas of injustice that was happening kind of simultaneously in Michigan.
So what we have from the no hope is what is it? Oh, yeah, we have a centerpiece that was happening while this was taking place, which demonstrates the tonality and absurdity of the governance structure. And now we have a time and place that the United Nations is looking for a new way of addressing it. I think what we have is an answer to that. It's what has not been said yet. Not what has been said. That speaks loudly, but what will speak even louder is what is to be said on behalf of communities, on behalf of the SDGs, on behalf of the betterment of the proposition post-Trump. I think that's a compelling narrative and timely. And I don't think anybody else would have, that we would be aware of, would have that kind of broad, vibrant, in terms of messaging importance. Because they would have produced what they produced. It would have appeared and it would went away.
Are you
So
hearing?
yes, I have to go. I deeply apologetic because this is such a good conversation. I just had a 1 o'clock already scheduled that I can't get out of, but I want to thank you guys for having me.
That, and we're happy you were here, and we're going to summarize this, and there's an after action that we'll take, and I'll make sure everybody's copied on that, and that's we'll be submitting this form
There's a rich
to
tapestry
be part of
here
this report.
that goes into the report. So we all have the opportunity to bring what we've been describing and hoping for into being, because it's in front of us here. And I think we have a week or so to collaborate.
And then we're also leading up to World Creativity Day, which is April 21st, and we're a leading project in that. This was a very last minute thing that we submitted for a couple days ago. We just got in right under the radar just to make our mark and have this conversation. But we'll be building up more of an event, maybe at New Lab or something for World Creativity Day. So anyways, we'll be tagging you all on that, and thank you so much, Capella. Can you stay with us for a little bit, Chico? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Robert, do you have anything that in that conversation that you would like to relate to?
Nope. Did we lose Robert?
Robert, are you here with us still?
You're muted if you're trying to reach us.
Okay.
Okay, he may be gone.
Yeah. No, he's there. I just maybe walked away for a second. But... Okay. Anyways, go ahead. So, what do you think next steps are for? Where are you at in the project now, Chico, with No Town?
Well, to be candid, the pandemic kind of played a role in derailing the piece. I mean, right now, I'd say we've probably got about 90% of the film shot at this point, because there has been so much time that's passed. I mean, we were pretty much at 90%, I think, pre-pandemic. So there's the role the pandemic itself has played in the story, the fact that the water situation in Flint is still unresolved, and just simply sort of touching base with the characters. I know there was legal litigation against former Governor Snyder that attempted to hold him accountable, that I believe ultimately failed. So there's a matter of, for the story, finding out how does it end? Where does it go? But as a result of the pandemic, I had to kind of step away from it for a bit. So it's been on the back burner, which is unfortunate because, as I'm sure Capella mentioned, Richard was a tremendous part of, the trinity that it took to make the piece. And without his presence, we certainly feel that loss. But at the same time, I feel it absolutely necessary to complete the work, to finish the film in his honor. So I'm motivated to move it from the back burner back to the main area of focus. But it's a matter of figuring out how to do that. We pushed ourselves, I think, to capture what we could, but it takes money to make films. You have to be able to sort of buy your time back so that you can spend it doing the editorial work that needs to be done to flesh out the story, as opposed to working a job to pay the bills.
So do you have a number on that? It's not totally you did. If you just do you have a number on that? Because I think we should be looking for that. There's so much funding that has been left on the table from just ARPA alone. I mean, the state of Michigan in just education left 17 million on the table.
That's certainly a question that I would pose to Capella, and it's unfortunate that she left before we got to that topic.
Okay, we'll figure that one out.
But keep that in mind, because I think there's dollars out there that have went unaddressed, okay, from the federal government, and they're going to be looking for ways in which to put up a timeline on it and then close it out.
Yeah,
it's still available dollars, and this goes to ARPA. What you're doing is an ARPA effort. Okay. So,
do we have any thoughts back here, Mama Raven and Henrietta? Anyone? Any thoughts about what we've been talking about? Henrietta said the Flint water crisis is still under investigation, and she said, will it ever be solved?
Yeah, I mean, if you understand what happened, the severity of what happened, to truly repair it, you're talking about replacing every line, every pipe that stretches from a processing facility to every faucet in a home in Flint. Like, that's truly what it will entail. But no one's ever going to say that. And, the Flint story is interesting because initially the residents were denied, right? The government seemed to insist that there wasn't an issue. So just getting acknowledgement that there was a problem took some creative thinking. And, part of that story was the citizens engaging themselves in citizen science. They commissioned an independent study to find evidence of a problem. And that's how the collaboration with Virginia Tech came into play. And it wasn't until they had scientific evidence to prove that there was an issue. There was that. There was also the pediatric lead studies. Those two pieces of evidence kind of came together and forced recognition. But even then, that research study was ultimately undermined because they took the professor who was sort of leading that endeavor and put him in charge of a strategy to try to rebuild the biofilm, which, maybe had some scientific backing, but ultimately I don't believe it resulted in much. You're talking about a destructive process that ripped apart a biofilm that was growing organically over the past 100 years. Like it could theoretically take another 100 years just to get back to where we were. And the idea that you could artificially accelerate that growth process, you know, maybe it could work, but so far I don't believe it has. And, you know, to tote that solution as a definitive resolution to the problem was unfair to the citizens and residents of Flint.
It's a dodge.
Yeah.
In its exposed proposition. Is there any current litigation going on that could overcome that, or?
Now, see, I really wish that we had Melissa Mays here because she could speak to that, you know, as her story is the growth, you know, the journey of a mother who, for her own family's sake, got involved in this struggle, and then had to sort of level up in her ability to be able to speak coherently and efficiently on, you know, effectively rather, on the topics, but also intelligently in representing herself and, you know, being able to dance in that political arena. And I think she has risen to that challenge, but at the same time is still fighting that wall because it's not moving.
Right.
Well, I think that becomes a big part of your story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that kind of determined continuation that speaks to the possibility that it can find some successful resolution.
Yeah.
Maybe that's you know, at the point where we are currently, and maybe we can craft some kind of if it's a UN proposition, it's a long-term resolution.
Mm-hmm.
But so I think we're in the right window. The question is, are we there at the right time?
Sorry.
I believe that is part of the unfolding.
I think so.
That's kind of the open-ended part of it. We'd like to, you know, create that closing, but that closing is so deep and wide. It's going to require a whole lot of study and a whole lot of focusing on things in a very long-term strategy.
And speaking of citizen science, and we have Fadaya back on with us, and I don't know if she wants to speak or if she can speak right now. But she runs the Connect 313, the broadband initiative.
Oh,
Right?
Is it Tawny or you mean?
Fadaya,
From Virgin Communities?
from Connect 313.
The Virgin Communities.
I believe, yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't have to learn his copy.
Fadaya, yeah. You wanna come say hi to her?
Are they talking about me? I can sense they're talking here.
yeah.
Hey guys, good afternoon.
Hi.
Hey Miss Monica. Hey beautiful. Hey handsome. How's everybody?
We're great. We're happy to
Yeah.
see you.
Well, I was in the dentist's office. My AirPods were on. I'm like, but I still don't understand. Ow, ow.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my apologies. It's my first time hearing about this. I just read your email. I was like, let me just log in. What do you want me to do?
Oh, we would love, so we were having a conversation about the Flint water crisis, and Chico is the director and co-producer and cinematographer for a documentary on Flint and Detroit and Benton Harbor, and the democracy problems, the infrastructure problems, all of that. And this exercise today is about we're in World City State Conference, and we're looking at they're launching a $500 billion fund to finance these sustainable development goals and to cover the ground that local municipalities have been unable, to say it lightly, to perform on. And broadband is so important to this conversation. And Chico was also talking about how the two, I hope I get this right, the two main elements that really helped the community have a voice in Flint were the citizen science element and the pediatric studies that were published, but yet, as Melissa made, we showed a video of her earlier about what she's doing now. She's got, like I said, just an action lawsuit going on now, and dealing with the fact that like all the American Rescue Plan funding really isn't going to solve problems. So could you tell us a little bit about what you do at Connect 313, and maybe we could explore how broadband helps communities in tackling some of these, how it might even might help communities tackle some of these sustainable development goals from a bottom-up perspective versus just sort of needing to trust a governance system that might not be able to handle all of it or deal with it all.
So I've been working with Connect 313 since April of 2022. I'm the ambassador for District 6. We are a total of 7 ambassadors. Connect 313 was created in 2020 after the pandemic. And there was a section in Detroit that lost internet for 45 days, sorry. And that's how the Connect 313 started. It's a collaboration of the city of Detroit, my Rocket Mortgage Bank, and used to be Microsoft and United Way of Eastern, right? Yeah. So what we're trying to do is we focus on every district. So when I focus on my district is I try to help residents learn more about the tech industry. I'm myself still learning, right? The Connect 313 open tech hubs in certain areas, in certain places, and you can log into connect313.org to find your local tech hub based on your zip code and your area. Tech hubs are there for everyone to use, from seniors to youth to adults, so they can learn how to be beneficial for themselves. Technology is like anything else, and is like everything else in life. If you don't learn it, you won't know the benefits out of it. You can pay your bills at home with your phone. You can learn to communicate with your people through your phone, either FaceTime or text. You can email back and forth. You can enjoy ordering a ticket for your favorite sport, or so many that you can do in your own hands. You can watch a movie. You can learn a skill using YouTube or whatever, you know? Mm-hmm. So from a low-cost internet programs that we're offering using the Affordable Connectivity Program, to low-cost devices to low income families through Human IT, through other organizations that we're collaborating with. Just log into our website and you'll find all resources for residents and all resources for business owners. And like I said, low-cost internet, low-cost devices, from laptop to phones, tech hubs we're providing, assistance in many ways possible, right? Even digital camps for teenagers. We collaborated with Code 313 and a lot. It's just my memory is 0%. So there's a lot. If you log into our website, you'll find all the digital resources you would like. And we're trying to help residents understand that it's important, learn as much as you can, and we're here to help you. And if we can't help you, we'll refer you to someone who is, and that's how we break the cycle and try to be, involved.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. That's great work that you're doing. I want to introduce as well Ms. Hicks. If she could give us a overview. And we were just talking, we just had our first conversation today, and it was very serendipitous that she was connected to these sustainable development goals, and would love if you could share that as well as the work that you're engaged in here.
Okay, well, thank you so much, and hello to everyone. So I was speaking with her through casual conversation probably about an hour ago, and we were talking about the SDGs. And I was just explaining to her that I have a younger child who was a part of a science program in Tech Town, led by Professor Keith Young. And in 2019, we all took a trip to the United Nations, where the children learned about the SDGs and also had the opportunity to discuss SDGs and other goals or concerns with the world. So they were able to speak with the consulates of Antigua, Belize, and Spain. And so that trip was actually a 5-day trip, and they actually just, first of all, we enjoyed it, number one. We were able to take a tour of the entire United Nations, take a tour of where all of the world leaders come together and talk, and we just got all of this information. All of this came out just, again, earlier today, just through casual conversations. So that struck up further conversations with ourselves here today. So I just wanted to just say thank you for allowing me to be a part of it, and also to shift over just a little bit, explain what my role is here at THOME Rivertown. So currently I am the housing administrator, and what we do is concentrate on trying to provide a, for lack of a better term, sustainable quality lifestyle for our seniors ages 62 plus. So what we try to do here is we try to focus on making sure their needs and concerns are met, making sure that they're comfortable, and making sure that they are in an environment where they can actually thrive rather than just sit around, slump over, just being, I guess, what's the word that I'm looking for? Just remaining, living out their remaining days without just being just here. So we try to make sure that we have a community where we have a lot to offer, a lot of activities. Not only am I the administrator, but right now I'm serving as the activities director as well. So we make sure we try to keep them comfortable and active, just make sure their overall quality of life is met to their expectations.
It's in this, it seems like that part of sustainable cities and communities, I can't think of a more important area to keep the social life engaging.
Yeah.
And this place is so welcoming and open. We love coming here to hang out with Mama Ravin. Always look after you meet a new friend.
Yeah.
And this building should be a model.
It is.
Really, I mean, it already is, but how do we scale it? How do we
How does Connect 313 help us scale what's happening here?
Yes, Fadaya, maybe.
I've invited her over here sometimes.
Could we explore maybe in the future, like a citizen science, because that's another thing I wanted Mama Raven to speak about her, herbal walk and talk program. Because Chico was talking about how important citizen science is to the Flint water crisis and those things, and Mama Raven's a lead volunteer at for the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy, and could you speak a little bit about that?
She's one of the time bank member. Me and her, we're from the same program.
Love the time bank. We were on the board for the Pontiac Fund time bank for a long time. And they've shifted a little bit, but we're big advocates for time bank.
Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, babe.
I'm Regina Lawson, aka Mama Raven. I'm a Detroit Riverfront Conservancy volunteer, and I volunteer in community areas too. But my program is called Herbal Walk and Talk / Chat and Chew, where I take people out into the wetlands on the Detroit Riverfront, and we discover edible, medicinal, and survival plants that you can actually find in your backyard. Oh, there I am with my crew. And what we do is just, like I said, discover edible, medicinal, and survival plants that everybody can find in your backyard in case we have some kind of crisis. Only go on a 4-block radius, you'll be able to sustain yourself by going into your backyard and finding food to take care of you. And also do cooking classes. If we happen to be out there, my first class is always about the dandelion, because my life has been a wonderful journey regarding the dandelion. Body has had my food because I do cooking classes for the time bank as well, and other places around the city. At least 2 or 3 cooking classes a week somewhere for somebody. And my thing is to live up to my grandmother's promise, asked me to make sure no belly goes empty. So that's what I try to do. I give food away. I don't charge for food, but I want my community to know that they can eat well and benefit from the wellness of the good foods that we introduce them to. So that's basically what I do. Oh, and it's just like I gotta talk about the dandelion.
Yeah, of course.
Because I don't know for my dandelions.
Here's their dandelion den.
You're trying to give me a dandelion.
Okay, yes, this is a collaborative initiative that we're very passionate about, is somehow finding a space to have the Brightmore Makerspace and Mama Raven's dandelion. No, you tell about the dandelion garden, but
yeah, I'm trying to find some space where I can start an entire dandelion garden, because nobody has ever produced one before, because people are always taking the dandelions and working away from the earth, when the dandelion is one of the most important, what they call weeds, available to sustain people, to make people better, to make them, well, in case of different illnesses. And my life started as a dandelion when I was 5 years old. My grandmother and I would, forage the dandelions before my grandfather would move them down. And we had this fight every day with him about going down the dandelion. But what she did, she took dandelions and she incorporated them into a diet of collard greens. Every Sunday, she fed 19 people from dandelions and collard greens. So ever since then, my journey has been to promote wellness with food from the backyard.
wow. And we also, Jim,
Yeah.
so Fadaya, if we're talking about programming and citizen science and connecting, maybe through your work, we'd love to engage kids at the Brightmore Makerspace, which we had them. They submitted a film for the Better Cities Film Festival. That's where I met you first. You were doing Digital Inclusion Week at Wayne State, and Better Cities Film Festival was happening at the same time in that same space. And maybe next year, maybe we could build for next year to showcase some student films, and maybe we could demonstrate the power of technology, as Chico was talking about, to help solve problems. And one other thing, are you leaving me?
No.
Okay,
We're in the middle of a drill.
yeah,
The voice is like echoing, so I barely can hear you. I'll be like, "Cuckoo."
oh,
I mean, you're not that clear, but I'm trying. Yeah, come on, Monica. Steven, my manager, even the director will be happy to even meet with you. Let's sit down and talk about it. It can be for tomorrow. It can be for next year. Whatever helps, whatever it's in our hands, in my hands as well. We can, yeah, discuss it.
do it.
Sure.
And also, Claudia, we need you here to do a presentation at, THOME Rivertown Senior Apartments as well.
Yeah, we can talk about it. Sure, I can. For me, it's District 6. If you are in District 6, you own me.
This is
Oh yeah, come here. Absolutely, absolutely. Anytime. It just so many outreach events nowadays, and all the summer, and my body is exhausted. But I got you. I'll take care of you, Miss Mama Raven.
But what are your, as an organization, what are your needs? We just read the article, that was published in the Free Press. And what are the challenges that you're facing most is it anything that we could frame for a sustainable development goal, ask for more funding? Is it funding, or is it community buy-in? Or city, where are the challenges?
For me personally, like funding and all that broad question should be for the administration or the bosses. I don't deal with that.
Right.
For me personally, I'm just getting to know District 6, and the further I go, the more I need to be doing. But I'm a part-time worker. 20 hours can't fit. All the documentation, all the data entry, all the meeting, all the outreach, carrying this, doing that, making copies, translate, all that. My biggest issue is Spanish. The majority of Spanish speakers are more than my Middle Eastern, and I'm an Arab speaker. So that's my only pause when I meet a Spanish person. I want to help them and stuff, but it's either they need a child next to them to translate, or they just go. They don't want to deal with it because it's going to take too long. But for me, I make sure when I'm ready to meet with them or something, I have either someone with me or they have someone with them, and we, finish off with great results. A lot of my clients are seniors right now, and like 25% Hispanic, and the rest more like seniors, and it's okay. But that's the biggest thing that comes in my mind when you say obstacle. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Don't tell my boss.
But you know what's interesting is you mentioned seniors, and we're in a senior center.
No, I know you guys are in my mind. It just, I didn't have time, but now I got you. Let me finish off today's Joe Louis Greenway. I think the Warren area ribbon cut, and next week hopefully I'll be all yours.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, beautiful.
Awesome.
We're real big champions of that as well.
And we're up at the Brightmoor Makerspace as well. There's a good deal of opportunity that they're bringing in some of the things that they're doing, build outs of space, and the whole of the Greenway will carry internet.
Yep, free Wi-Fi. I heard. Yep, my sister works with them actually too. So.
Oh, wow, that's good to know. Then,
yeah, her name is Hanan Yaya. Anything with the Yaya family, it belongs to me.
yeah.
I love
the
it.
Yaya. Thank you.
So you know, what's really interesting is Mama Raven's out on the Detroit Riverfront Greenway. And we need to have Mama Raven on the Southwest Greenway in the 27 miles of Greenway.
Yeah,
I know, right?
More maker space as well,
And,
these little
and
hubs.
the way that that gets, you know, valued is by the connections that Connect 313 produces. So there's really a lot of commonality and purpose there, and I'm sure there's a story or two in Flint that would be replicable on, you know, the story of Detroit and vice versa. There's a lot to be said for connectivity. And yet
Absolutely.
we're all talking about our own little version of it, when we should be perhaps thinking about multiple versions that coalesce into a much larger picture, a much larger story. But is shared proportionately by those who are engaged. It's certainly Pontiac has, I'm a native son of Pontiac, a story to tell as well. So let's look at it from that perspective and see if talent, and boy, the talent that's represented this morning by our folks in Flint is compelling. And I think there's storytelling to be told. There's delivery of stories, and things yet to be unfolded and thought through.
You're absolutely right.
So
Whatever you guys need from me, like I said, we're all aiming for the same purpose or the same point, is helping residents, helping the community, and helping everybody get connect to water, to electricity, to internet. And they all deserve it, and we have the right to you know, collaborate and try to make it work, you know, with all what we have. And I'm here to help in any way.
so we're going to take Pontiac at Connect 248.
Just closed it.
And Flint is Connect Chico, Connect.
Connect 01134. What are you talking about?
Chico, what is this zip for, or what is the
Zip code for
Flint?
Flint,
Oh, that's
or not zip code, the area code.
the area code. Yeah. Let's see. I've got to resort to the phone. Is it 810?
Sounds right.
Connect 810.
Yep, 810 Connect.
Good. There we go.
And then we have
Wow.
248 in Pontiac.
Now
Gotcha.
there's something
All right.
that the story just got larger for a UN proposition. Because
All
right. About a state.
I'm sorry, but something's come up and I have to bail out of the conversation.
Oh, we're wrapping anyway, so we
Okay.
appreciate you being here with us.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure talking with you.
We'll be tagging up very shortly.
We'll be delivering 810.
Claudia, don't go anywhere.
All right. Take care.
See
Bye
you.
bye. Have a good day.
Bye. You too.
Claudia, what day is good for you in the next week to come to THOME Rivertown? And a time.
So what is the zip code around your area, Mama Raven?
Huh?
The zip code in your facility?
207.
I don't think you're 606.
You are, I think, in a way. I'll double check, but yeah, I mean, listen, I can help either or if I know if the zip code belongs to one of my coworkers, I'll hit her up and tell her to come with.
Well, we're making up our calendar for November, so they're gonna print it out today or tomorrow. So I was just trying to make the time.
You just want a general review about what we do, or do you want me to talk about the offering for the low cost internet? Do you want to talk about the tech hubs? I can make
everything.
Okay, I'm gonna steal my project manager presentation. It was ready for my community conversation. I'm just gonna add a little things in there and for my tech hub. And okay, when do you want me to come? Monday I have meeting, Tuesday no, Wednesday no, so Friday.
Friday,
Next Friday,
the 10th, okay, what time?
I have how long is it? Is it like an hour length of meeting?
Whatever you give us the time span. How long is the presentation?
Oh, it doesn't matter. I can talk forever. Just get a
2, 3, 4 hours, you tell us what you need.
okay. So let's do 1 o'clock.
1
So
p.m.
as soon as I finish, I run to get my kids from school.
Okay.
It'll be a good plan.
Okay.
Friday.
1 to 4.
I'll send you send me your email or put it on the chat or
Okay.
Facebook it. Yeah, whoever's in charge. I'll bring flyers. Yeah.
1 to 4 p.m.
Sorry?
We'll say 1 to 4.
Oh, that long.
Well, no, we're just gonna put it on the calendar. If you finish in 2 hours, fine. We just wanna make sure we
If it's
reserve. 1 to 3?
Do Thursday. Let's play it safe. Do Thursday from 1 to 3.
1 to 3, okay. No problem.
Tuesday?
Thursday.
Thursday.
Maybe let's try.
Okay, 12:30 to 3. Why? Because I can have half an hour. 12:30 to 3.
Okay.
We can start by 1 o'clock and then hopefully end 12:30 and then run to school to pick up my daughter.
Okay, 12:30 to 3. We got you down to 12:30 to 3. And we'll send you the address.
Okay, yeah, send me everything. I'll send a calendar reminder. And I can even have, this outreach specialist from this program that we're trying to offer to come on as well. You guys have projectors and stuff, right?
Yes. Monica comes. You know how to utilize all that?
Yeah, I'm gonna come at 12 and then do that. I mean, I can hook up my computer if there's a way the HDMI be on the TV or something, or a projector to the wall. That's all I want. I'll talk to her to have half an hour for herself to talk about it. And if anyone is interested, I'm certified to help them apply for this $30 discount opportunity. I have magic. I have a lot of things that I'm doing and I never noticed.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, I know. You're my hero. Yeah, let's do it. Next Thursday, 12:30. I'll come a little early. I like to come a little early to see what's going on.
Yeah, you love us.
And prepare and have the lady. Okay, good. Now my planner's not next to me. I have to plan that.
So,
Thank you guys very much for letting me be involved in this. I love it.
peace and love. Thank you so much. We love what you do. And it's really the foundation of everything, honestly. If you don't have that and that knowledge exchange and getting good programming to kids with everything we experienced with the pandemic, but now we have to even evolve it more so that we're not delivering same old content for learning.
Absolutely.
Or engaging them.
And I have a website that I'm really excited to share with them as well. Like, even if they're sitting down as seniors, they don't want to open the TV and they want to learn something, right?
Yeah.
There's this website that they can just book the session. It's so many different, again, this website was created in 2020, where everybody like was not ready for Zooms and for online study or online communication, and they did not know. So this website mostly for seniors, and I think it's on I'm sorry, I have a phone call. It was on the DHS website. It's called Get Set Up. The have you heard of it?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, you can actually, as a person of knowledge, and you know how to teach something to someone, you can actually get paid doing that as well. Like if you know how to cook cookies, or you want to teach people how to do Zoom, or how to book a ticket especially for seniors who don't have a lot of knowledge for technology, or to use the digital devices. You can be one of the teachers as well.
Wow, it's almost like a gig type economy offering for people to help others and get paid to do that.
Yep, it's free for people. It's you charge them for teaching.
Wow, that's great.
Right, I had a lady who, me and her were like trying to learn more about Zoom, and then we were watching it and making notes, and we just learned so many because they give them that one step at a time, or steps of directions of how to use the Zoom. But you need just to either book it, and some of them were live, and some of them they were recorded, and you just go to the notes. It's amazing. It's Get Set Up. Mama Raven, Get Set Up.
Wow.
And it's, I think, an app. Is it gonna be? It is an app, I think, on your phone too. If you're sitting in the clinic or in the hospital or whatever, and you know it's gonna take a minute, you just go on your phone and watch what's going on. Pick some topic and watch it.
Beautiful. Thank you for that.
Yep, that's what I'm gonna mention it so they can use it and show them steps of basics. So I have a couple things I'm gonna share too, right?
Claudia, the 9th is not gonna work. Can we have another day? We have inspection here.
The what?
The date, what date did I give you?
You said Thursday at 12:30?
This, on the 2nd, this Thursday?
The 2nd, is it this Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. 12:30,
Yeah?
12:30 to 3.
I can't believe it's already November. Tomorrow's gonna be November. But...
Crazy. Happy Halloween.
Thank you.
We got you down.
Yeah.
Thursday, November the 2nd, 12:30 to 3.
Okay.
We should have jumped on when you were talking. We had your article on here and have that in the background. Okay, well, we're gonna show this, we're gonna jump into the UN roundtable, if anybody here wants to stay. Robert, did you have any other closing thoughts?
Just gonna.
Okay, bye, thank you so much.
No, not today. It's very interesting, and I hope to attend another session that y'all have. Maybe I won't miss your cue as to what to talk about next time. So.
You covered it all. That's the most important element, really, is how do we have citizen voice is key to everything, and especially with what Chico was talking about, the democracy problems in Flint, and it's so important, and what Vidya represents is that voice, really, and getting more people to that.
Yeah, well, just a personal note, we aspire to be where Detroit is now in their community activities. That's not to say that we're not doing some great things in our city now, because there's a lot of more activities going on in the city now than has been previously. But there's a lot of things that I see in Detroit that I hope we get to very soon rather than later, because a lot of people are losing interest, as well as some businesses are ready to fly because of the amount of time it's taking them to recoup some of their funding or what have you to beef up their businesses. And like I say, Detroit is doing a tremendous job in job training and community participation, as well as bringing the young people up to having a greater income level. And they're providing all the necessary things for them to take those steps to increase their income to be able to meet the demand of rent and home ownership now. And hopefully we'll get there soon, but we're working and can't take nothing from the administration. They're doing their best with what they had to work with. So I thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this. And hopefully next time I'll catch the cue because we didn't have really too much of a water problem here. They do the testing, and Oakland County has been doing a tremendous job in trying to keep us informed as to how our water is up to par. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't suffered in Pontiac, it was just more political and financial dysfunction of under emergency management and Catholics and those kind of things, which was devastating as well
Absolutely.
to communities. So I just really appreciate your work, Robert, over the years and being that voice. And let's process all of this, and we're gonna make our report at, I don't know if you saw that, Kadaya, we're doing a after conference report to send it to the UN and be part of, their report out on all the activities for World Cities Day. And then we're building up towards World Creativity Day. We got into this program like last minute, a couple days before. But World Creativity Day is April 21st, which is the day before Earth Day. And we'll be building up towards that and towards a larger presence. And we're one of the leading projects working with the leadership team for World Creativity Day. And that's a UN initiative as well. So we'll be sending out some stuff for everyone, and maybe we could do a bigger splash. And get the wider eyes, more eyes on these initiatives and making our path for the financing the sustainable development goals. So on that note, I'm gonna close it out there, and I just really appreciate you all for being here. Kadaya,